Welcome to the Elegance Of Nae Podcast. I'm your host, Nae, and on this podcast, we talk about a variety of topics with amazing stories. Let's get into it, shall we? Welcome back to the Elegance Of Nae Podcast. I'm your host, Nae, and we have someone new in the building. Today, we have the one and only Mr. Brandon Daniels Sr. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for that lovely introduction. I've never been introduced that nice before, but thank you.
Oh, wow. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing, you know. This is one of the few podcasts I've actually done, so being a part of this is something special, and so far, so good.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
How's your day been going?
It's been a hectic day, actually.
Really?
Work was crazy, but that's a good thing.
That's good. How is it a good thing, though?
In my line of work, typically you want to be busy, and my day-to-day can be extremely slow or can be extremely busy. So when it's extremely busy, it makes my day go by quicker, and it makes work fun. I like work being fun, so it makes it fun.
That's what's up. So it's a new year, new beginnings. How has the new year been treating you so far?
So far, so good. Other than the Lions not going to the Super Bowl, I had bought my flight ticket. I had got my room all picked out, and you know what they say, you put the carriage before the horse. I was one of those. And other than that, I mean, the year's going good. It's going good.
Yeah, it seemed like that's going to be the talk for a minute.
It is. It's a sad time. This is the most depressing Monday I've ever had.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But
it's so quiet on the streets today.
Oh, it is. I didn't even want to look at Ford Field this morning on my drive in. I was like, don't look at me. It's like seeing an X all over again. Like, I don't want to be seen. I don't want you to look at me, right?
Oh my gosh. Heck, you know, it's too funny. So let's talk a little bit about you. Are you born and raised from Detroit?
I am a Detroit native. I've been here all my life. Proud DPS product, Henry Ford High School, Trojans, Ford Dogs, as we like to say. I love the city of Detroit. I've worked primarily downtown my entire career, 16 years in banking, believe it or not.
Okay.
I was pretty much all 16 years have been downtown Detroit. So I'm a native here. I love what Detroit is becoming.
Yeah.
And I want to continue to be a part of it too, just because the passion of being here from the ground up is like, wow, man, I remember when this ghost town downtown. Now downtown is thriving, and it's turning into something I never believed it could turn into.
Yeah, I've been happy that our city been doing a lot better, especially with a lot of new stores or just updating the looks or the storefronts of how our city been looking.
I mean, we got Gucci downtown.
I know.
Like we got I never would have thought in a million years we had Gucci downtown.
Yeah.
We got Gucci downtown.
It's crazy. We got a whole lot of we got Shinola downtown now, hotel, not just the store. We got the hotel.
That new Hudson building's coming up. That's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of new residential things.
Yeah.
Where you want to be at?
As far as living wise?
Yeah, I mean, if I was somebody, especially like I feel like there's a lot of people commuting here to the city of Detroit now. So we're losing the native Detroiters. Like, we're not downtown anymore.
Yeah.
So a lot of the Detroiters, or the new Detroiters, I like to say, they're coming from like DC or LA.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're getting pushed out a little bit.
A little bit,
yeah. Kind of like we're getting pushed to Midtown area.
Yeah, further. We're going to probably get further. Yeah, further eventually. And it's gonna be, downtown's not going to be the most affordable place anymore.
Sad to say, because now I've seen a lot of places down here that are charging just up to tail. Like, I think the max I've seen so far is 21,000, like 2,100. I mean, as far as like renting.
That's cheap.
That's technically for some people,
cheap.
But
I've seen it like 4,200 a month, and even like the Book Tower over here. I don't know if you looked at.
That's what made me think of that. Yeah, because I'm like, I mean, it's a beautiful building. They did a great job with renovating and, you know, redoing that whole structure, keeping the historics from it too. So I think that's dope. But yeah, I think for me, I would stay, if possible, I would try to stay downtown or at least near downtown.
Yeah,
but not too close, because they do get a little too crazy down here.
Yeah, I used to stay in Midtown, and when I was staying in Midtown, I seen how it was changing, and it was like, wow, why didn't I buy like the loft I was in instead of just renting?
Yeah,
because that thing is like tripled, probably quadrupled in value. But staying downtown is a lot of fun, and I mean, I didn't have the family to raise, because I think my wife, she loves a backyard and she loves the community that we're in. But I would love to stay downtown. I might revisit it as the kids get a little bit older.
Yeah. For me, it's like, luckily for me and my family, we have our own placement. Like we near like the Eastern Market area. So for us, we're not too far from downtown, which is actually a really good distance from downtown. Even though Easter might could be like off the hook, but it's still like off the hook in a good way because we have like the festivals or Easter market days and stuff like that. So it's still really nice. It's not too far. We got a lot of new updated looks, new stores.
Yeah, I mean, I miss staying in Midtown because I don't know if you're familiar with Dally in the Alley. It's an event they have. It's usually like in September, I believe. Yeah. And I mean, the streets be packed. It's so lively.
Yeah,
and I mean, a lot of vendors, and I just like being a part of the liveliness of it. Where versus now I'm in a neighborhood where it's, of course, you have to come downtown now if you want to get that type of experience. So there's some pros and cons with it all, but
yeah, because I see I like how we've upgraded our alleyways downtown to where it's storefronts in the alleyways. It's nicely seated areas now. It's lit up. It's clean. So I do like it is a lot of pros that they have been putting into our city versus the cons. Like we're trying to get better with actually bringing a livelihood out of Detroit, and it's a lot of artists getting more opportunities too, with being able to paint murals and brand their name and stuff.
Yeah, too. I would say we're big on opportunity right now. I mean, even with the NFL draft coming here this year, I feel like Detroit is at the focal point of, hey, this is an up and coming place. You want to be a part of this, you need to live here. And we're kind of marketing that way, I believe. When I say we, I'm talking about the city of Detroit. Yeah. Obviously, there's so many things happening, like you said, for the local artists. I mean, if you want to get in with the in crowd and get some exposure, I mean, there's several opportunities, but sometimes we don't know about them either. Yeah. So sometimes a lot of people who aren't local are getting these so-called deals, and that's the sad part, and that's the nature of it. I get it because you have to be in the know to get the opportunity. But I would love to see more of our local people get more opportunity to show more presence in the new and upcoming Detroit.
Yeah. That is very true. I feel like the more we branch into it and tap into, I love how creative we are getting, or branching into more of our creativity, because we've always been a creative city. So I love that, especially with the new events we've been having downtown. Rather, because we had so many people here for the Christmas tree lighting. I was talking. Did you see how flooded it was? Like you couldn't even move.
That, and even what is it? Dropping a D on New Year's.
Yeah, we didn't even get. Well, we're gonna do it next year. They said, but this year, they do. They do. But we had the most people for the Christmas tree lighting, and they also had a lot of people for what was that other event? It was
the Grand Prix.
No, it wasn't the Grand Prix, but it was what was it? It was just on the tip of my tongue. It'll come back to me, but I do know it was just so many people. Oh, the Jazz Festival. Oh, we had the Jazz Festival downtown. It was a lot. So how were you as a kid? Like, were you more of a social butterfly or more of you like an introvert?
I would say I was probably a little bit of both. And again, I think the social butterflyness in me came from me being a little bit mischievous as a younger kid. I used to get into all type of things, and then especially being involved in sports, you had to kind of interact with your teammate if you wanted to just necessarily,
be on the team.
Be on the team. Yeah. Right? You just couldn't be that one kid that didn't talk to anybody. You had to talk to everybody. So, and then there were times where I'd be in a social setting and I didn't like the crowd or the atmosphere. I was trying to get a feel for the atmosphere where I can just be very reserved and observant, and I just kind of see how the scene is going before I kind of let myself, or be myself in those type of situations.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So that's cool. What made you be interested in baseball?
Honestly, just the coach one day, we were just messing around. He needed like some kids to fill in, and I had my glove, ironically, and I went out there and started playing, and he was like, "You're pretty good." And I played center field, and I felt like I was kind of fast, so I was chasing like fly balls, and I had a pretty decent arm, so I could get the ball back in play, as they say. Then I just stuck with it, and then when I got in high school, I believe I was like 11th grade, they asked me to play. You should play baseball, and I was like, well, I do like the sport, so I ended up playing again, and ended up playing 11th and 12th grade year. So
nice. Did you feel like you can be a little pro out here?
No, I didn't. I just honestly, I just like the sport. Okay. Again, like I said, I think my first love was always basketball, but I figured I wasn't gonna be 6'6", so I was like, all right, let's just play for fun, have my fun with basketball. And I'm mad I didn't play in high school because I felt like I could have definitely helped out our team. And I felt like I was good enough, but I was just like, I'll do baseball, and then I just left it at that.
Okay. Now, how was it for you as far as your transition from high school into college? How was that for you?
College wasn't even really in my plans originally. I felt like I was just like, my dad worked in the big three. I was like, once I get 18, boom, put me in the plant. I start making that good money, and that's all I need to do. But one of my counselors, I'll never forget it, Miss Harris at Henry Ford. She was like, "Why don't you go to this summer program at Wayne State?" And it was called, at the time, it was called Project 350. And she signed me up, and lo and behold, I ended up going to the summer project at Wayne State. You got to stay on campus and build credits before the school season, what we call it, quarter, yeah, semester. That's
semester,
what I'm thinking about. Yeah, before the school semester start. So I did it. Of course, made friends, was having a great time. I'm like, oh, this ain't that bad. But then I enrolled for the fall semester, and I just stayed with it. But then as I was there, I kept on telling myself, or I kept feeling like, this necessarily ain't the path I wanted to take. And it was cool while I was there, but then I ended up getting into my profession while I was there. So it kind of helped me get into what I'm in now, which is my career. So I was like, oh, I guess college did pay off in some dividends.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But what made you? Okay, so what made you choose, or what was your major first, and then what made you choose that major?
So my major was always finance. I was like, all right, if I'm gonna do something in college, it's gonna have to deal with money. Like I need to be around money. I need to make money. So my whole plan was finance. Never thought about banking though. I was just thinking like, try to somehow get into some type of succession plan and become a CFO somewhere, or be like the accountant of a big company. But didn't really have that plan figured out, and banking just kind of fell into my lap.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a little bit different.
And then ever since then, it's just been going uphill ever since.
Yeah, I started, and I got with some good people when I originally got started in banking, and they always told me like, hey, like if you're gonna go for it, just go for it. And I could continue to rise, climb the corporate ladder, as they say, and get promoted, get promoted, get promoted. But I was doing the actions, obviously. And I was very serious about making more money. Like my goal was always to make more money the next year.
Yeah.
And the only way I could do that is get promoted to like a higher level position. And then there were some more educational pieces to it. I had to take certain classes and get certain licenses and certain other things that I just naturally wanted to do, because I was like, hey, if I got to do this to get promoted, I'm going to do it. And if that promotion comes with more money, then I want to do it. And it wasn't that money was the key driver, but I knew I needed money to do the things I needed to do, right? I mean, like everyone else.
Right. So how was the transition for you far as going into adulthood though? How was that for you?
I would say adulthood. I feel like my dad did a great job of preparing me for adulthood.
That's good.
I mean, since 11, my dad was always like preaching like financial independence on me. Okay. He was like, hey, you need to have your own money, do your own thing. You don't want to rely on me. And I'm like 11 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. And I think due to me having older parents as well, that kind of played a part in me kind of being a little bit more responsible with my funds. And it's funny how things work out, because my dad always said he wanted to be a banker. And I'm like, nah, look at me. Nah,
you took his steps.
Yeah. I feel like he subliminally planted that seed in my head back then, and it ended up growing into something that I never even thought it would become. So yeah. Once I got to adulthood, it wasn't a hard life for me in adulthood. I just kind of knew what I needed to do. I knew if I had the money, because
he prepared you.
Exactly right. I knew it. My dad always said, if you have the money, you can do what you want to do. So if I had the money, it wasn't nothing for me to get a place to stay. It wasn't nothing for me to buy my food or whatever. But I had to budget like crazy, because I didn't know how expensive it was being an adult.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that a lot of young adults going into strong adulthood don't understand really, of how much financial debts can come up, or credit, or just not being aware of that whole line. That's why I feel like a lot of my classmates in high school, and once we graduated, it was like, we wish we had adult classes in here, like knowing how to do finances, knowing how to know what credit is, knowing how it is if you did your own living arrangements, stuff like that. But I feel like one thing that I do like that they did far as a field trip for us was go to Quicken Loans, and we did like a little housing and taxing to supposedly like exhibit type ordeal, and it was pretty cool. And that was the first time I think that opened our eyes of, oh, this is gonna be real one day, of dealing with bills and electricity, all that. So that's good that your your father took that proudly in a sense
Oh
for
yeah,
you.
definitely. He was very instrumental in the man I am today, and just the overall person I am. Many times, like I didn't always agree with the way he was, kind of raising me and bringing me up because I'm like, I feel like I'm missing out on like all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of like literally preparing me for adulthood, like since I was 11, right? And I just couldn't imagine, like, oh man, I'm like, what are you talking about, financial independence? And yeah, I used to see him like go down in our basement and he'd be at his desk. And I guess from what I always assumed, like he's paying bills, which I knew because he was writing checks and doing certain things. And then I could look at the lifestyle he provided for me and my sister. I'm like, wow, I'm like, we go to Disney World, a lot of my friends don't go to Disney World.
Yeah.
I'm like, if we needed something, we can ask and he would go get it for us.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a common thing around my neighborhood. And I'm like, we stayed in Detroit. We stayed nowhere fancy. It was just like my dad made sure he had the means to do what was necessary. And he always told me, like, if you got the money to do what you want to do, you're going to be happy.
Right.
So that financial independency, financial freedom was what he always preached, kind of been instilled in me. And that's kind of how I continue to live my life.
And that's crazy because you actually pulled the fatherhood. So how important is fatherhood to you as far as yourself as a father versus growing up with your father?
Yeah, fatherhood. I mean, I got cousins, and the upbringing, it plays a tremendous part in just the overall character building of an individual, especially a young man. Having that person, like that figure, right, for you to know, like, all right, this is the bare minimum I have to be like, and that can be just the opposite. Like, this is the bare minimum I need. I don't want to be like. So it's two sides to that, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at, like, say, when I looked at my dad, I was like, I was competing with him.
Yeah.
I was like, man, you're good, but I can be better. I was like, you're good, but I can do better.
Right.
Or if not, if I did the bare minimum what he did, I knew I was gonna be okay. Because I looked at the life and he provided for my sister and my mom and everyone. But then on the other spectrum, my friends, when they're like didn't have that father presence in particular, I seen like the different struggle it was. And it was like, even in our conversation, sometimes I didn't understand why they felt certain ways or why they made certain decisions. And I'm like, hey, this is, and even just being in that 2-parent household, growing up, I guess this kind of leads to adulthood, like you said, dating, right? I've seen my mom and dad argue, but still be okay with it. And then versus that young woman who never seen two people argue or seen the argument and seen the man leave per se, and not kind of stick around and try to fix the situation. That kind of played a pivotal role in just marriage with me. So I mean, it's a lot of varying factors I think play a big part in just having that father figure there, because there are so many different scenarios that a father's reaction can be instilled in you, because you're like, I remember how my dad reacted in this situation. And again, you're still your own person, but you sometimes that helps you with your decision making or molds your character a little bit.
Yeah. Now, what are some characteristics or traits that you carried on from what your dad taught you to you teaching your children?
Oh, a big one is getting the job done. I felt like my dad, no matter what, got the job done. It was like, hey, no excuses. And like he was big on saying, like, we couldn't say I can't in our house. He was like, don't say I can't. It was like, if you commit to something, or if you truly commit to something you truly want to do, you need to see it through. And whether that be gardening, it could be something as simple as that. Like if you said you was gonna go out there and plant tomatoes, go plant tomatoes and make sure you do what's necessary to make those tomatoes, develop and produce, right? And I think I carry those traits on with me and even my children. I'm like, they're young right now, they're 6 and 4. But I'm like, hey, like if you want to do karate, like we're gonna do karate, see it through, And it's so funny because they're so young, and obviously they don't know, they're gonna change their minds millions of times probably.
Yeah.
But my son, he loves animals, and I make sure we do something with animals, like probably like once a month or anytime we have the opportunity to, because you just don't know. Like I had a passion for animals when I was younger. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a marine biologist, and now, lo and behold, my son has this crazy passion for animals, and I'm like, am I instilling this subliminally in him right now, and he's gonna grow up and be a marine biologist? So
you never know, because just like how your dad wanted to be in baking, and now you're in baking, so it's like crazy. It's like a domino effect, right, in a sense. Yeah, that's crazy. Hey guys, we wanted to take a quick little break just to do a quick shout out to TC's Art Gallery. That is T as in Tom, C as in Cat, S as in Sam Art Gallery. They do custom art, custom jewelry, and custom photos. They also help with your logo, updating your website, or if you need a website, and they help with social media advertisement or social media management. If you don't feel like dealing with your social media at all, contact TC's Art Gallery today. That is T as in Tom, C as in Cat, S as in Sam Art Gallery. And also check out their website at tcsartgalleryllc.square.site. All right, back to the show. So that's awesome. I'm glad that, you indulged in, paying attention to what your kids are in interest of and noticing that and being observant of that. Because not a lot of parents kind of pay attention to that, I feel like, nowadays with, certain parents trying to do what they got to do, but they can't be as observant to their children as they want to be, but, they try. So I think that plays a part too.
It does. I mean, children are, like they're being molded day in and day out. I mean, every day you wake up, you never know, like the subtlest little thing you do, your child notices. And I mean, from the good to the bad. And they always say like, oh, be careful what you say around words around kids, because they definitely repeat everything. And I've even caught myself like with my daughter, and just like saying something on the video game, and I hear her repeat it, and I just crack up like, oh my god, like they're just little sponges, and
they are.
They soak
I
up,
spoke to somebody about that.
everything that's going on. Even my son, like, we got him a chain, and I was talking about like So Icy Boys, because we were talking, me and my wife were talking about like Gucci Man or something at the time. Now that's what he refers to his chain as. He's like, Dad, I need my ice before I leave the house. So he always grabs his ice.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That is really funny. Now, if someone wanted to start a legacy in your career, what are some helpful tips that you would give to them?
Well, one, just getting started, you don't necessarily get to pick the team you're going to work with. Like I said, I was very fortunate to work with some women who were just, empowering. And say, if you get with a team that's empowering and they're looking to uplift everyone there, they're not looking for you to be in the same position that you started in.
Yeah.
Then that's instrumental. But if you don't get that, because I've been at on teams where I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not as empowering. You still have to have that self motivation to want to do more, because everything's attainable.
Yeah.
It's just your drive to do it, right? And if you don't necessarily have the drive to do it, then it's not necessarily something for you.
That's true.
So if you get in this type of field, I mean, it can be very stressful at times, but the payoff is very rewarding at the end of the day. So I just say, either get with a team or have somebody talk to people at banks. That's another thing, right? People will tell you if they're happy at where they work at.
Or you can see it.
Or you can see it, right?
Genuinely see it.
They would tell you, and if you kind of get the feeling like, oh my God, like these people aren't happy, like I wouldn't work at that place. Get you somewhere and where they have the opportunity for growth, right? Not through, who you know, but basically on performance, right? If I like being rated on what I can do, right?
Yeah.
So if people see like, wow, this guy, he produced when he came here and he did X, Y, and Z, he did X, Y, and Z, or she did X, Y, and Z, then let's move them on to the next level. And then just keep producing at the next level. It's kind of, I mean, it's very similar to school,
Yeah, just do your research.
Yeah, just do your research and try to be the best in performing the best to your abilities in whatever role that you choose with any company. I mean, not just even in banking. If you're going to give it your all, and it'll take you where you need to be.
Okay. Now, how has it been being married? And also, how long have you been married?
So I've been married since 2016. So what is that? My wife's gonna kill me. We said 8 years this year. Yeah, it'll be 8 years this year. Yeah, 8 years, and
it's still wild for me.
Yeah. And then we've been together since 2012. So marriage to me is it's a wonderful thing. I pray that everybody can get married, or everybody finds someone that they can, spend the rest of their life with.
Yeah.
It's just the companionship. My wife knows like that's my best friend, and we can talk about anything. We can go through anything together, and we'll accomplish anything together. But we truly are best friends. When I say we can talk about anything, we can talk about anything. And that's what you want your marriage. And I tell people all the time, like, don't compare your marriage. either. Because sometimes people ask me like, well, you're married, you get to do X, Y, and Z, and y'all talk about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, but that's what works for y'all.
That's where exactly, you know, that works for me. That might not work for you.
Yeah.
You know? So you got to figure out what works for you, and don't have someone like you're comparing your marriage to. Make your marriage your own.
Yeah.
That's been me and her. That was our biggest thing. We're like, hey, we're not saying like we're gonna be like, you know, Jay and Beyonce or whoever people compare their marriages to, and say like, well, this is my ideal marriage. Our ideal marriage has been created by us. And we particularly, and it's building and growing every day.
Absolutely.
So we add something new to it, or we take away something.
Yeah.
You know, take away something from it. It just depends on how the marriage is going and what day-to-day life scenarios we're dealing with.
It's like a give and take moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely give and take. And if you're not able to not always win the argument, then sometimes marriage might not, you know, be the best thing, because a lot of times we like to draw that line in the sand and say, I'm not, you know, I'm just not budging on this situation. But there's some situations you may have to budge on.
Yeah.
Just for the betterment of the marriage, and not say like you're just a yes person or you give in all the time. But no, for one, you got to know your significant other and know like, all right, do I really need to push this to the next level? Or is it something we can revisit later and then kind of find some common ground and figure it out?
Sound like mutual good communication.
Yeah, big time. Communication is the biggest piece of our marriage. Sometimes I think we talk too much. My wife would tell you we don't talk enough. And I'm like, well, we talk all the time. She's like, no, we can always talk enough. But just communicate. Oh, it is a good thing. And she's in social work, so she's big on communication. She's always like, you know, express what you feel, express what you mean.
Yeah.
And don't, you know, beat around the bush. And that she's helped me in a lot of ways. Sometimes even in like our relationship, I was like, I didn't know how to express times I wasn't feeling the best or I was angry. You know, I just used to kind of keep it within.
Yeah. And
then I would blow up, and I'm just like, oh, now I'm blowing up because everything has compounded to me blowing up to this experience where she's like, we can talk about this now. It's okay to talk about it now.
Yeah.
So it takes two, and we have to be on the same page, right?
Yeah.
So if we're going to communicate, we both have to communicate openly. It can't work if I'm communicating and you're being a closed-in person, or vice versa. So communication, I would say, is key in marriage. And like I said, I love being married because it's so, I don't know, it's just so fun, just enjoying life and, you know, sharing your accomplishments with somebody who cares just as much about you accomplishing them like you.
That's what's up.
So yeah, it's a fun time. Like I said, I hope everybody has a chance to get married or find that significant other to spend the rest of their life with.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. And it's all about, I feel like, for one, getting to know them before marriage too. I think that's very huge. Becoming their friend and genuinely getting to know them before just jumping into it and just like, okay, I'm with this person. Yeah, and then you're learning them while you're already in that predicament.
Yeah, we had a saying. We were like, we were dating, like we're dating with a purpose.
Yeah.
It's like we're not just dating to say, just oh yeah, dating. I like you, you know, you like me.
Right.
And oddly enough, it was funny because like initially I didn't see the beauty in my wife when I first met her, like, because we just were talking. And like she knew of me and I knew of her, but it was nothing like, oh, I'm attracted to her, I want to get with her, I want to talk to her, you know. And the same for her. It was just, we had a conversation one day, and then the conversation just lasted like for 4 hours, and I was like, okay, I'm like, this is different. But we weren't talking about anything. We were just talking about, you know, the basics of life, religion, what you got going on in your life. It wasn't flirty or nothing. It was just a conversation.
Conversation.
And we just continue having conversations that like, okay, then some feelings develop. I'm like, oh, I do like this person. You know, this person's cool. I can see myself with this person. And then, you know, one thing leads to another. And then, like you said, that organic growing of our relationship was just amazing. And it's built what it's become today, I guess. It just came to something I never would have thought it would have became. I was like, wow, I met you and we just talked, and it was never like the attraction thing. We just ended up growing to, you know, like and then love each other and have children, get married, all this stuff. It's just, it's like, wow, you don't see this stuff happening, but it does.
Yeah. Do you think it's true that males know that they're gonna be with somebody after 3 to 6 months of knowing them, the woman?
I don't know the specific time frame. I think with Tiana, when I met her, it was like, as soon as we had that conversation, I was like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, hold up, it's a little different.
Yeah, this a little bit different. It's a little bit different. And I'm a man of faith too, so I had prayed because I was just like, you know what? I was done with the dating and stuff. I was like, excuse me.
You at that point you're dating to be married?
Yeah, I was just like, I am tired of just keep dating. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going with this dating stuff. And I just asked God. I was like, you know what? I'm like, you know, this is the type of woman I want. You know, You present her to me, then you present her to me. Lo and behold, it happened, and I was like, wasn't even thinking about what I had prayed for at the time. Right. I'm like, is this a sign? And it's kind of one of those aha moments,
like, oh, there you are.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, this is getting answered right here before me, and I didn't ignore it either. It was just like one of those givens. I was like, okay, he just really talked to me about any and everything, and like we just talked for hours without even talking about like, oh, you cute or making little flirty.
Right. Actually, just genuinely get to know each other.
Yeah. So it was amazing, and like I said, that's my baby. I love her, and you know that.
Shout out to the wife.
Shout out to the wife. Yeah. Shout out to TT.
That's what's up.
That's my baby.
That's what's up. Now, before we close, do you have any questions or anything you want to say?
How are you so chill? Like, you are a very chill person, and I feel like the times I've talked to you, you're always never too high, never too low, right there in that middle.
I don't know. I guess it just been my character or my personality for a while. I always I grew up with my brothers, so I kind of got a taste of both worlds of being around a lot of women versus a lot of males. So I kind of got a nice balance of how to understand people, how to speak to people, how to connect with people. So, and I'm also, as I got into high school / college, I've been a social butterfly. Like when I was younger, not so much, but as I got into really develop and be, because I'm very observant. So, I fill out a room before coming in. Like, okay, this ain't my cup of tea. I'm really quiet in this room. Okay, cool. I can conversate about this in this room. And then, keep it at that type of level. Or I'll just fill a person out. If I feel like they're coming with calm, chill energy, I'll give the same back. Or, just like that. I just fill a person out and just go off the flow of it and just go from there. Really.
That's cool. Try to mimic that sometimes, but it doesn't always work out as smooth as you do.
It is like that though.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing statements before?
No, for the next guest and continued guest, just continue to give you the energy that you want.
I feel that.
And you take your podcast off the ground.
Okay. Now, is there a part 2 coming?
I'm all for a part 2. Maybe we can get my wife on here and have her conversation about her views of marriage.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it'll be a lot different than mine.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a nice little deeper dive, guys. So we got to stay tuned for that. But yeah, definitely stay tuned for part 2 coming soon, or whenever we come. Don't even be looking out for it like that. But when it comes, you got to be a subscriber, though, or at least shout out to our Patreon and be on there and look into it as well. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Until next time, guys. See ya. It's a wrap. It was great seeing you. We're so happy you joined us for this episode. Can't wait to see you next time. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And check out our information down below in the description. See you till next time. Bye.